I'm ready whenever everyone else.
Okay, I'll go ahead and get us started here.
Mm.
Good afternoon. Yatesh Antonia Bancroft Yanishya. Torijini Nishlan Nas Ajita Baha Bashishin Dashini Dashache Tetnasani Dashanala. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Antonia Bancroft, and I will be assisting with today's presentation. I am one of the ICW program consultants and tribal liaisons for Region 6 with the Office of Tribal Relations, and also would like to um, also introduce or give the mic per se to our support staff who are also helping with today's presentation. So if you'd also like to introduce yourselves as well.
Hi, I'm Kelly Pelland. I'm the executive assistant for Talina Ives and just helping with the Zoom. And if you have questions, if you're having difficulty getting in or hearing something or anything, just let me know. Be monitoring the chat as well.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. And I have the pleasure to introduce our presenters for our afternoon session today. We have Angela Van Brunt and Karen Billy from Treehouse. Both Angela and Karen are tribal engagement managers with Treehouse, Treehouse Education Programs and Tribal Engagement. And so we will today's presentation, they will be talking about supporting tribal youth and foster care on their academic journeys. I'll go ahead and give it to Treehouse, and yeah, welcome everyone.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for inviting us. My name is Angel Van Brunt. I am enrolled Colville tribal member. I have been with Treehouse for a year. My pronouns are she and her. Prior to my work at Treehouse, I worked in foster care and licensing and management for 16 years prior to coming to Treehouse. So I will let Karen Billy introduce herself before we start our Zoom or our presentation.
Good afternoon. My name is Karen Billy. I am an enrolled Lummi Nation tribal member. I am also a foster parent of 12 beautiful children. Prior to coming to Treehouse as a tribal education specialist, I was a youth advocate within my tribe. Go ahead, Angel.
Thank you, Karen. I'm going to attempt to share my screen here. Sorry, excuse me. I apologize in advance. I'm getting over some kind of a cold or something. No, let me see this one. Can everyone see that? Okay, good. So, first of all, I want to say that Treehouse is celebrating its 35th birthday in existence this year. And for those of you who may not be familiar with Treehouse, it started out 35 years ago with a group of social workers who recognized there was a need in the foster care community. And they started fundraising through book sales and things like that to help children in foster care meet their basic needs or things that other children weren't. They were trying to make them trying to provide them resources that other children always had, but the children in foster care didn't have. So it was very grassroots the way they started. And Treehouse, the tribal engagement team that Karen and I manage, is only a little bit over 2 years old, right, Karen? A little bit over 2 years old. So when I started a year ago, we had a team of 5. Well, before I started, there was a team of 5. Kateri Joe is she's the one who created this model, and she's also the director of special populations at Treehouse now. So before I came a year ago, it was Kateri and 4 tribal education specialists from Tulalip, Lummi, Yakima, and Muckleshoot. And when I came on board, we were now a team of 6. And in that year, we've since developed partnerships with the Puyallup tribe and the Lower Elwha tribe, and are looking to expand into Eastern Washington and one more TED in the more rural area of between Muckleshoot and Puyallup. And so soon we will be a team of 11. So as you can see, our team has been growing consistently, and we currently have long wait lists, so we anticipate we'll be growing even more within the next year. And so with that, I want to start So we're going to start by telling you a story of how Tribal Engagement Team began. Kateri, who is, like I said, the director of our special populations, she once was a Tribal Engagement Manager here, and at that point, before that was created, she had this idea in her mind about how we were going to partnership with tribes and how we were going to build this program within Treehouse. And she began brainstorming. And so she had a vision of what Tribal Engagement Team would be. And she had trouble explaining it. So she started on the whiteboard and just started scribbling things down. And it became easy for her to understand how to explain what Tribal Engagement Team was when she compared it to the canoe journey. And I just absolutely love this model. So there's Kateri's chicken scratches on here, but you can see where her mind was going. So those of you who are familiar with canoe journey recognize that we have canoe families, and a canoe family represents the entire group of people who travel together on a canoe. Typically it's one tribe, but sometimes it can be intertribal, and all of those who agree to travel with one canoe. In Treehouse, our Tribal Engagement Team and Treehouse, we consider that to be one canoe family. And it's so easy for us to understand it for those of us who are familiar with the canoe family. So Treehouse in its entirety is one canoe family. And that's the way we're going to look at it in the upcoming slides. So with the canoe journey, you have the ground crew. During the journey, you need folks who stay back and pitch tents. They set up camp for the pullers. They prepare food. They greet the pullers as they come on shore, and they make sure the pullers have everything they need. Oftentimes they're setting up, I know in our camp, we set up craft stations where folks could come back off the canoe, or those that weren't pulling canoe, but they're just to support. We would be creating regalia, or we would be creating gifts for the potlatch at the end for whoever's hosting. At Treehouse, that would be the equivalent to everyone at headquarters, making sure that we're all working together. That includes the administration, the IT, who makes sure that, because we're working virtually and remotely, IT makes sure that all of our equipment is working and we have all the equipment we need to be very mobile as we travel from one school to another. And it allows the direct staff to be successful in all the work they're doing. This is also marketing and development, making sure that we have the funding we need. Hence the reason we're able to hire a couple of more TEDs, most recently, like I said, in Puyallup and Lower Elwha, and we'll be moving to east of the mountains. So without our marketing and development team, and everyone else in administration, we wouldn't be able to do the work we're doing. So this is resource services, making sure we have the right tools to provide the services in a good way. Do you have anything to add, Karen, to this slide? Okay. So once our canoes are on the water, though there are several canoes on the water, they're all part of the same canoe family. In this picture, you can see Swinomish Youth Canoe and the Dancing Salmon. Some of you may be familiar with some of the canoe names. Some of them have been on the water for several years. At Treehouse, the equivalent to that would be our tribal engagement teams. As I mentioned before, we have one in Yakima. We have a tribal engagement specialist in Tulalip, one in Muckleshoot, one in Lummi, and most recently Puyallup, Lower Elwha, and as I said, currently working to establish 2 more partnerships. So we consider ourselves to be right now 6 canoes that are one canoe family. So we're 6 canoes on the water traveling to our next destination. And on the right here is the Muckleshoot Eagle Spirit canoe. I believe this is the one that Kateri travels with. And this is the one I love the most. The roles in the canoe, the skipper leads and steers from the rear. They're the ones who know the waters. They give the directions. They keep everyone safe and together. In Treehouse, we consider the skippers to be our TEDs. And we're very intentional about hiring the folks that we do in these specific areas. So one of the things that we do in our tribal engagement team is we make sure that a representative from that tribe who we're trying to develop the partnership with is represented on our hiring panels. And so we get direct input from, usually it's someone from the social service programs, because those folks know, just like the skippers do, that how to best serve their own children. Our TEDs, so for example, our TED, Karen was our TED from Lummi. Karen knows the community. Karen grew up in the community. Karen knows the resources. She knows the best way to communicate with her tribal council and with her school, the schools, the tribal schools and the public schools in her district. So it makes sense that we hire folks who are very knowledgeable of their community. And so our skippers are the TEDs that serve those areas. The stabilizer in the canoe is the person that sits right in front of the skipper. Their job is to make sure the canoe is stable and moving forward. They work with the skipper to shift and move as needed. At Treehouse, on our tribal engagement team, that would be the tribal engagement managers, which would be Karen and myself. I'm the manager in the south. Karen's manager in the north. So the stabilizer listens to the TEDs and can shift and assist the skipper in difficult waters. So tribal engagement managers, we take our guidance comes from the TEDs, because they're the ones out on the front line working with our kiddos. And we are equivalent to the person who's sitting right in front of them, that stabilizer position on the canoe. Now the power pullers, they're all the pullers in the canoe that are working to move that canoe. At Treehouse, these are the rest of the TEDs. So if we have one TED in the back who's our focus might be Lummi for this meeting, the rest of the TEDs are in the center pulling that canoe. They help with regional specific supports, resources, case consults, and overall morale. So we are learning that we really appreciate one another on our team of now 9 and our tribal engagement team, because we're able to share resources, we're able to network, we're able to work together to make sure that all those kiddos that we're serving at Treehouse who are tribal are getting their needs met in a good way. The pace and stroke person is the person at the very front of the canoe, the lookout. They dictate the speed of the canoe and work with the skipper to determine which way we go. At Treehouse, that would be Kateri Joe, our director of populations. That person helps to create plans for expansion, which obviously she's done a great job, because we moved from a team of 5 to soon to be 11 in a very short amount of time. They help to expand and communicate changes in the program. Do you have anything to add to that one, Karen? Okay. And if y'all have any questions in between while I'm talking about this, please feel free to interrupt me. I take no offense to that. Now the support boats, these are normally speed or sailboats that follow the canoes. Oftentimes in the area that I come from, we're using fishermen's skiffs. A lot of folks don't have a speed or a sailboat, so any boat that is willing to travel alongside the canoe is able to provide support in a good way. And do not dare call the canoe a boat, or you'll get thrown into the water, in case you don't know that rule too. They travel next to the canoe, but they don't interact unless the canoes need to switch pullers out. So oftentimes the support boats also will carry all the first aid, extra life jackets, food and water on board. The pullers will put their equipment, their cell phones, and anything else that they don't want. They want to be more safe on the support boat. So, and they do travel, and they only interact with the canoe if the canoe requests it. So at Treehouse, we consider the equivalent to that to be our community partners, which is the tribes and the social services programs that we work with, and other coalitions. Also, the support boat is equivalent to other ed specialists in Treehouse. So we have currently 6 tribal education specialists. However, Treehouse has several education specialists throughout the state that are not tribal. Now we're finding at Treehouse that we have so many on our wait list since we opened up in statewide in April. We have long wait lists, and we knew that based off the work that we did in foster care before this, that the numbers are very disproportionate. So it was no surprise when our wait list started growing longer and longer and longer. So having said that, there are times that one of our tribal students will be assigned to an ed specialist in that area. It might not necessarily be a tribal ed specialist, because we try to keep our caseloads between 16, 18, around there. And if we get more than that, we may have to assign one of your kiddos to an ed specialist who's not tribal. And having said that, we also provide quarterly consultation to those ed specialists so that they're able to provide service in a good way and through that cultural lens that we're really trying to look through. The support boat also at Treehouse is equivalent to, our ed advocates and our tribal education team. We help to support each other while navigating unfamiliar waters and provide additional relief at times. So that's a good example of when we have to have a student assigned to an ed specialist that's not tribal. We're here at their beck and call to provide any kind of resources or guidance, connecting them to the right people at the tribe so that they can serve that tribal youth in a really good way. So anything on that one, Karen?
We also offer monthly family service meetings so that the tribal social workers and the tribal education specialists can have a line of communication about the youth on a regular basis.
Yes. Thank you. Now the skipper meetings at Treehouse, we call like I said, we're going from 5 folks, sorry, to 9 folks and soon to be 11. Sorry, excuse me. We meet on a bi-weekly basis, and we actually call our meetings skippers meetings. So at skippers meetings, this is where all the skippers meet the night before, leaving for their next destination. They discuss potential dangerous areas or barriers. They discuss the tides, and they make plans for a safe departure. At Treehouse, our tribal engagement team is equivalent to that. We have regular meetings 2 times a week with our team. We have monthly meetings, like Karen said, with our partners. So we meet every month with Lummi, Tulalip, Yakima, Lower Elwha, Puyallup, And who's the one I'm missing?
Muckleshoot.
Muckleshoot. So we meet monthly with their social work team and we discuss those students we have in common. That's an opportunity for our tribal education specialist to let them know and to update them on specific things they've been working with specific students. It could be grades, it could be behavioral issues, it could be attendance. So it helps to, and it's very student driven. That student has to want to work with us. And I'm happy to say that most of the students that get referred to us end up wanting to work with us. We won't move forward unless we get there okay. And so it's really helpful in making sure that the social worker and the tribal education specialist who's working specifically in the area of education, it's really helpful to get those two together to make sure that everyone's on the same page with this kiddo. We also plan and strategize as a team if one person has a connection in the community that can help support the case or to build relationships in the community. We know Indian country is small when it comes down to knowing what we need and knowing where we need to send folks and knowing where we need to network and collaborate. And so having a TED that resides in Lummi be the person who's working in Lummi, and having a Yakima tribal member or community member working with those kids in that area and Muckleshoot and so on. There's often been times where we're able to share resources and build connection that way. And we know that tribes intermarry, and we have kiddos that are connected to 2, 3, 4, 5 tribes. So it really helps to have each of us from a different part of the state working on our tribal engagement team. So the canoe arrives at the host tribe shores. They explain who they are, what their intentions are, why they're coming, and they ask for permission from the host tribe to come ashore. At Treehouse, the equivalent to that is when the tribal engagement managers, Karen and I, what we do is we go out, and we're currently building relationship with, this one's a little bit different. This is going to be the first time that we build a relationship in the city of Spokane. And what we're trying to capture is those urban kiddos that are in Spokane that are from those outlying tribes of Kalispell, Colville, Spokane, Coeur d'Alene, some of those tribes that are outlying in that area. So we're currently, what we call it is the courtship process. So we're having these very first meetings to explain what Treehouse is, what kind of work we do, what their role would be, what our role would be. And after some tribes take several meetings to decide that, yes, they want to work with Treehouse, or no, they don't. And some tribes know right away, yes, this sounds like something that's for us. And once we get the green light to move forward with a partnership with that tribe, then we begin all the rest of the work. But you can see how it's similar to asking permission to come ashore. Before we just start doing the work, we are very mindful of whose territory we're coming into, and we try to be very respectful of the way they like to do things in that specific community. So we meet with the tribes, the ICW offices. We also meet with the schools in that area, and explain who we are and the services we provide. And we ask permission to start working in that community. So most recently, like I said, Puyallup started working with us. And as a matter of fact, I think we've only been out there twice. So this month will be our 3rd time out there. That's how new that relationship is. And with Lower Elwha, we finally had our first meeting just last week. So, or no, actually was it Monday? Yeah, it was Monday. And our hope is that even through being able to present like this and having our community connections, which I'll talk about in a minute, that when we can start explaining who we are and what we do, as we start meeting with tribes and as we start new courtship process, that word will spread and that folks will have said good things about us by then, and it will be much easier process than it was for these first tribes that we started working with. Because I know, and I tell this story, like I said, I worked in foster care before this, and I was working for SPIPA, a 5-tribe consortium in Mason County. And Kateri had been she'd been trying to do this courtship process with me via email and other ways. And I recognized who she was, I acknowledged who she was, but I kind of put her off to the side because I really didn't know what she did. And I was busy, so she wasn't at the top of my priority list of priorities. And so it wasn't until I came to Treehouse and I recognized who she was, and I said, I think I know you from somewhere. And I learned that I had been snubbing her for for quite a while. And I learned in this position that because Treehouse is a non-tribal organization, it is a little bit more difficult for us to get our foot in the door, because tribes really want to be able to trust us and know that we're going to do good work with their kids. And so we're out here letting folks know that we are a tribal engagement team and that we work specifically with tribal youth within Treehouse, at the intersection of their experience in foster care and their educational journey. So,
hey, Angela, we do have a question in the chat. Could I?
Yes.
Lisa Campbell had asked, does DCYF have to make a referral, or can the tribe? Our Treehouse advocate said she was too busy to help us and she was located in Seattle.
Karen, do you want to take a stab at that one?
I actually just responded to that question in the chat, but to make a referral for a tribal education specialist, or just an ed specialist in general for graduation success, school staff, social workers, CASAs, lawyers can all put in a referral for the youth a referral for the youth.
So,
Kateri would like to jump in.
Okay.
Hi, I'm the Kateri that they keep talking about. So Director of Special Populations. I just wanted to say my hunch from the question is, you said Treehouse Advocate. That is actually a different program than a tribal engagement program. It gets really confusing. And is that presentation, do we talk about the advocates later on in the presentation, or are we doing just the Dream model today?
We haven't talked about it yet. And
I haven't seen your presentation. Is it going to be at the end? Or if not, so just to put into perspective.
Yeah, go ahead and talk about it right now, because I don't know that it's right in there.
For sure. So there we have our educational advocacy, which is kind of like our firefighters. They are a program that is on a short-term basis. They come in specifically just to help with like an immediate need. And their service ages are from pre-K to 12th grade, working towards high school completion. And so once they have resolved the problem, then they leave, right? So our tribal engagement team is part of our larger graduation success program, and they are specifically for 13 to 21-year-olds working towards high school completion. And it is on a ongoing kind of relationship, in the sense of like, if our advocates are firefighters, our TEDs are your primary care provider. They're the ones that stay with the students, stay with the youth, meet with them weekly, and kind of see how things are going and kind of help in those aspects. So I'm guessing if you had an advocate who was located in Seattle, it might have been, we had a crazy huge increase this past September. Normally we get around, I think there's about 71 intake referrals that we get per programmatic year for, or through September through educational advocacy. I think they said they had about 350 in September, which is, as like huge intake. Yes.
So do we have to wait for DCYF to make the referral, or as tribal workers, we can make the referral?
Yes, if you are a part of the tribal, like the tribal ICW office, you are absolutely welcome to. So a school social worker or a school social worker, a case worker from ICW can, CASA's lawyers, basically just someone who we can then like verify that the youth is an open dependency from shelter care to case closure.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Someone said, how do we request a Native advocate? I think as our program grows, we're still working on that. And as like Kateri was saying, there's different programs within Treehouse, Ed Advocacy, Graduation Success, which is the umbrella that Tribal Engagement Team falls under. And we have Launch Success. We currently do have a Tribal Launch Success coach, but we haven't we don't have a specific Native advocate in advocacy program yet. Yes, and as Kateri said, we currently, we do not have Native advocates, but we do offer consultation on a regular basis, just like I was explaining. Our wait lists are so long, there's no way that the 9 of us at this time can serve as many children that are coming through the referrals. And so there are times when we have to, based on their geographical location, it makes more sense to have an advocate work with a student on a weekly basis rather than have them continue to wait on the wait list. However, those ed advocates that student gets referred to also know and are informed, and they're required to participate in regular consultation meetings with us. And our team is very open. So even though we hold the meeting quarterly, we provide consultation on a fairly regular basis, I would say. Questions are always coming in, and Tribal Engagement Team as a whole knows that we're here and they use us. So I'm going to move on to the next slide unless there's Kateri says, I think this would be something a Tribal Engagement Team and an ed advocate can work on together. Yeah.
We also had another question from Stanley Nix. Do you have funding for tutors if needed? Do you advocate for youth within IEPs? Have leverage with public schools?
That is one of our relationships that we build when we move into that area. We build relationships with the schools. So we meet with liaisons. We meet with school personnel. Our TED has to find a place to be able to meet there. But what was the other part of that question? Go ahead, Kateri.
Sorry, I keep butting myself in here. So
Please
there's two. Yeah, no problem. So part of it is, yes, we do provide funding. There's like specific guidelines that we have. That's all of this is available on our website, so folks are able to look through. For tutoring specifically, that is something where if you are, like I said, part of graduation success, so 1321 working towards high school completion and open dependency, then we can help serve with that. For youth who are needing help with an IEP, then yes, we can absolutely help with that. But that would be open to our advocacy program, and that would be pre-K through high school completion. And one thing I would say is, like, whenever whoever is putting in the referral for either advocacy or graduation success, one, you can put in the same referral for 2 things. Like you can check multiple like requests or programs that you're wanting. And that too, it's really, really, really important to identify as Native American, so that way our team will be dinged and that our intake team will be dinged on it. That's like how that's how we're able to indicate. And also, even when our students are on the wait, like it's also really, really important for once a kiddo comes into care and into open dependency, like that is when I suggest putting in the referral, like almost immediately, because they'll get to this later, and I'm just gonna like cut to the highlights. Is as long as a youth is on our wait list, even if we're not actively serving them, but they're waitlisted, and we'll send out an email saying that your youth has been waitlisted. even if they're waitlisted and we're not actively serving them, they still have access to just-in-time funding during that time, which is like our resource services. And also, they also have something else that I was going to say, and then I saw something else and I got distracted. Yes. Oh, that's right. That as long as they're currently waitlisted and we are actively, even if they're not actively on a caseload, even if they go into permanency, you know, a month later, we'll continue to serve them.
Thank you, Kateri. I'm going to move on to the next slide. Okay, I'm trying to. Okay. My button's not working, so I'm having to do it manually. That's why I'm making everyone dizzy. Potlatch or feeds. We know with the canoe journey that the host tribe welcomes travelers to their shores by providing a meal. That's our favorite time. So this would be a Treehouse. This is equivalent to when the tribe agrees and to work with us, they feed us information about their community. They agree to help recruit and interview potential TEDs that would be successful working with their tribe. And so that's part of our team is a unique part of our team is that we do include community partners on our interview panels. So we usually have 2 or 3 members of our tribal engagement team, and there should be one person from that community who's designated to be on the panel with us and feeding us information about their community. And the same thing happens, like Karen was referring to earlier, when we have those tribal partner meetings, we are exchanging information about those kiddos so that we can work with them in the best way possible. Protocol. So protocol, this is where all the canoe families share their traditional songs and dances. There's some social dances where you can participate even if you're not a canoe family member. The canoe families demonstrate the importance of reciprocity by gifting the host tribes, volunteering. At Treehouse, this is the equivalent to when we begin serving the community. We've done all the courtship. They've agreed to work with us. We've laid all the groundwork. So now we're going to begin serving that community. We have regular Treehouse meetings with our partnering tribes, like we explained earlier. We invite district liaisons, school staff, and other tribal departments to work with Treehouse. And since I've been here, there are some liaisons and some other folks from the school who regularly attend our partner meetings and provide really good information for our team. And oftentimes we try to develop a really close relationship with that foster care liaison that works in the school, because they are going to be the key to lots of information. And like Karen, you might be able to add to this a little bit. Things like being able to secure a space to meet with your student every week, or getting information regarding IEPs or how to go about doing that. So to me, they kind of seem like an advocate within the school and they get to know us very well at Treehouse. And we start to attend community events that we're invited to and that are appropriate to attend. And so another unique thing about our team is that we do community connections. And so those are times where we attend events, like it says that are appropriate for us to attend. Oftentimes, most recently, we attended most of the back to school bashes. We attend health fairs or that type of thing where we're handing out information, educating people on what Treehouse is and who we are. Those are the more formal gatherings. And anytime we have an opportunity to where I wanted to show this off too. We have our own Treehouse shirt. And when we go out, when we know we're going to be attending a community gathering like that, we wear our Treehouse I was going to say regalia. We wear our Treehouse shirt, sweatshirt, whatever we have. And we specifically picked yellow orange for our shirts because we were honoring the Every Child Matters. And so when we go out to the community and we have an opportunity to talk about Treehouse and what Treehouse does, we have an opportunity to answer community folks' questions and things like that, then we have made a community connection. People start knowing who we are in those spaces. Now there's other informal gatherings that we attend as well. So things like basketball tournaments and places where tribal people will be. We had a table set up at the Muckleshoot vendors. So maybe some of you were able to come by and see us over that week that we were set up there. But anytime we make a community connection, we come back, and we believe those connections are important because, again, this is a tribal engagement team within a nonprofit that a lot of tribal folks don't know about yet. So it's important for us to be out there representing not only our tribal engagement team, but ourselves as individual tribal people, and to be able to make those connections. Do you have anything you want to add to that, Karen?
With the community events, it's just our way of networking within our own community and other communities, so we can better get the word out there that we do have a tribal engagement team to serve our tribal youth.
Thank you. I keep trying to use my button and it's not working. So our final thoughts for this is that each tribe has its own nation and must be treated as such. And we recognize that. Collaboration and strong relationships with tribes take time and patience. And as I explained earlier, some of these partnerships we developed happen really quickly, and some tribes take a long time, and that's okay. The best interest of our kiddos, there's no light matter. So we expect that to take time sometimes. Though the strategy is slower moving, it's done in a good way to prevent missteps. And finding the right people for each position in the canoe matters to keep moving in the right direction. That is, again, why we make sure that we have community representative on our hiring panels as well. One of the other things I wanted to mention, go ahead, Kateri.
I was just going to say, I'm sorry to keep butting in.
Okay.
We have 2 positions that are currently open on our website right now. So if you know of anybody, please refer them to us. We are currently hiring for Karen's backfill for up in Lummi. We're also hiring for Tulalip. And then I would say for folks who are also in the South End, it's not on our website now, but Muckleshoot, our second Muckleshoot TEDs should be coming on the website by the end. I'm going to say probably by December. So please refer us, refer anybody who you think might be a good fit. And one thing that's really important to us is, we think that as a philosophy when it comes to hiring our TEDs is we can share. Yes, thank you. And we'll also, is that we can teach specific skills, right? We can teach folks how to run the computer. We can teach folks how to do kind of certain steps to certain things. What we can't teach is we can't teach somebody who knows inherently how to work with tribal people, right? We can't teach someone to have the passion, to have the commitment, to have the investment in the community that they're serving. So that's why we try really, really hard to hire within communities that they're going to be serving. And, oftentimes, in my experience, folks have maybe, not applied for these kind of roles because they don't have, like a master's degree or like a 4-year degree, but we look at work experience as equivalent to education. So please, we need someone good. We need folks who are from the community, who are going to be passionate about our kids, and who are going to stay with us for a while. That's my plug. Thank you.
Thank you, Kateri. I also wanted to mention this is my plug because ever since I came on a little over a year ago. But one of my ideas or my thoughts for Treehouse when I came on board was regarding the Treehouse store that our kiddos get to visit up to 3 times a year, right, Karen? Anyway, I was thinking about myself as a young person because I'm also a product of the system. I grew up in over 28 foster homes before I ended up in boarding school in Eastern Washington. But I was thinking about our tribal store, I mean our Treehouse store, and I thought about the fact that when I was about that age, middle school, just getting into high school, I used to I'd learned how to do beadwork and things when I was really young, but I ended up in foster care, and a lot of the caregivers didn't know how to get me the materials I needed to make regalia or to make moccasins or ceremonial things like sage or sweetgrass, things like that. They didn't know what it was for. They weren't interested in making sure that I had those things as a Native youth. And so my thought for the Treehouse store was that we needed to have a specific section in that store that would be a place where foster youth, tribal foster youth that are currently in the system can go and see things that represent who they are. And the idea came up for me last year when Kateri and I were tabling at the Puyallup Powwow. The tribe came and donated a box full of t-shirts to the program. And we thought that was so cool. And we thought, well, why don't, that it would be so nice to have something like this so that our kiddos that are in non-tribal foster homes in the system, which there's many, can go to the store and find something that is meaningful to them. And so we've started working on, and it's the ball is rolling ever so slowly, but we're in the process of creating a section in that store where tribal youth can go in and get things like earrings. They can request a pair of moccasins. They can request a shawl or tribal designed clothing and things like that. And we're still in the beginning stages of developing that section, but that is something that we're working on at Treehouse, and I think it'll be really cool once it's up and running. And we already have many folks within our network that have expressed an interest in donating things to that store once it's up and running. So it's another part of our expansion to Treehouse, and not only Treehouse, but our tribal engagement team. So we have lots of ideas moving forward. So like Kateri said, if you have anybody in the Tulalip area or in the Lummi area that wants to come and join our team, we have lots of ideas moving forward, and we're looking forward to being able to provide those kind of things to our kiddos in a good way. But any final thoughts for you, Karen?
Yeah, I just wanted, we have 2 more minutes.
Okay.
I just dropped in the chat our email addresses just in case we were not able to get to any questions.
Oh, good. And Kateri also put in there that we are also looking for artists who we can call on when a youth requests regalia or when a youth requests a ceremonial thing like moccasins to be made or something like that. So we're trying to get a list of artists that we have just kind of handy whenever we also have things like we want to be able to provide tutorials like I do beadwork, so to be able to provide a beadwork tutorial for youth in foster care who might not otherwise be exposed to that kind of teaching, basket weaving, things like that. So like I said, we have lots of ideas moving forward. And like Karen said, if we weren't able to answer all your questions, she popped our email address in there as well.
Yeah, I also put it in the chat as well. So
okay.
if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to Karen and Angel. I provided their contact information, also provided their website in the chat as well. And I believe we also will have surveys available. Am I dropping the surveys, Kelly, or are you dropping the surveys?
So we're going to send out the survey, but we don't want you to complete them till the end of the day because it includes all of the sessions.
And again, thank you, Karen, Angel, for presenting today. And yeah, also Katera for popping in. And, you know, I'm also wondering how I could get a Treehouse shirt so I could also rock you guys down here in Southwest Washington. But again, you know, if you have any questions, please reach out to Angel and Karen. And thank you all for joining our afternoon session today.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.